Hi and welcome to Cherry Pie Math. This video is going to introduce the area of a circle and where that formula comes from in a basic sense. So to start with, let's just take a circle and then split that circle in two parts. So now we have two semicircles, and then we're going to keep doing that. So we're going to split it again, so we have 4 slices. And then let's just keep going. We'll just keep doing this, and you can do this as many times as you like. If you're doing an activity with this, you can cut up that circle as many times as you want, as long as all those slices are about the same area, I guess, like the same size. And then we're going to rearrange them so that they look like this. We have like down, up, or up, down, totally up to you. And we can kind of see that this is making around what looks like a parallelogram. And it's not going to be perfect because, you know, we are incapable of doing this an infinite amount of times perfectly. But you can kind of see it's making a parallelogram. And so if I keep doing this, I'm going to actually start looking like a rectangle even. And I'm going to say rectangle just because it's going to be easier for me to work with. So let's pretend we have a rectangle out of these. That's a terrible looking rectangle, and that's going to bother me. So I'm going to make that again. So pretend this makes a beautiful rectangle, and I've done it enough times that it approximates it. That's what the mathy word for it is, that we approximate a rectangle here. We know from other videos or from other sources that the circumference of a circle is 2 pi r. So all the way around is 2 pi r, because that represents the amount of times the radius fits around. So if this is the radius, then I would fit it, you know, 1 radius, 2 radius, 3 radius, and a little bit. So 1 pi radius up to here, and then I have another pi radius to get up to here. So it's 2 pi r, which means that altogether, all of these things here are going to add up to 1 pi r on each side. So we know that this side is pi r and this side is pi r in terms of the length, right? So I'm going to go like this, if you can kind of picture that. Basically, we split the circumference in 2 parts. So now I have pi r on each side. And then I know that this length is going to be the radius, because when you split up a circle, you always go from the center. So we know that this from here to here is the radius. And to find the area of a rectangle or of a parallelogram, you do the base times the height. In this case, the base is pi r, and then we multiply it by the height, which is r, or in other words, pi r squared, because r times r is really just r squared. And so I would recommend rewatching that, making sure you understood like where those pi r's came from. But like honestly, at the end of the day, if you just need to know what the area of the formula for the area of a circle, it's just a equals pi r squared. And that's really it. This is what you need to memorize. Now you know kind of where it comes from, at least like a rudimentary version of it. But this is what you need to memorize for tests. This is what you need to memorize for the ACT. You just need to know the area of a circle is pi r squared. And if you forget that, you're going to have a rough time with the ACT or the SAT. This is one of the basic things that they expect you to know and to be proficient at, which is nice because it's actually really easy. So let's do a practice. Let's find the area of a circle with a radius of 7 centimeters. So if I draw a circle, and then I know that the radius here is 7 centimeters, all I have to do is I know area is equal to pi r squared, which means that the area of this one is pi times 7 squared. And then if I go into split screen here, here we go. And then I just do pi, and then I'm going to do 7 squared. And that gets me about 153.94, we'll say. And we know that that was centimeters. So it'd be centimeters squared. Ta-da! That's all it is. I can do this again over here. Let's try it with pizza. So how much area would a slice of 10-inch pizza that's been cut into 8 equal pieces be? So this one actually has a couple of different things. First, if I just draw my circle, and I recommend this all the time, just draw the picture. We're given the information that it's a 10-inch pizza, but that means across the whole thing is 10 inches. We don't actually care about the whole thing. We only care about half of that, which is 5 inches. So we know that the radius in this case is 5 inches. So if I was to plug it in, so area equals pi 5 squared. And if I'm going to go back here, that would give me the area is equal to 78.54 inches squared. But then it doesn't ask me for all of that. It only asks me for one of the 8 equal pieces. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to do 78.54 divided by 8. So let's do 78.54 divided by 8, and that's equal to 9.82 inches squared. And I'm just rounding it to the 2 decimal places. That's pretty standard, especially when you're doing like a handwritten test and it's not asking you to leave it in exact form. But that's all it was, is I just plugged in the radius, and then if I needed to do a little bit extra, I did. So really that's it. Things to remember. Remember the units. Since this is area, it's going to be units squared. And just remember that it is r squared. The exponent is not the coefficient. I've seen this, and I've done this personally, where I get mixed up between circumference and area. The way I remember is that area is always units squared, so that is where the exponent is going to be, whereas in circumference, the 2 goes at the front if you're using r. And when you divide up a circle, remember that you divide it up from the center. You're not going to have a circle where you're like, oh, here's my circle, and then I'm going to split it like this, and now it's in 2 pieces. That makes me so uncomfortable. Hopefully that makes you uncomfortable too. Remember, you always go through the center. Just like when you're cutting up a pizza, you always have to go through the center of the pizza in order to preserve that equality among the pieces. Anyway, I hope that helps, and good luck.